Hi, Democrats. Today is Tuesday, August 8th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Tuesday. So, first things first. In Lawton, we have a special election. Senate District 32 in Lawton. A Republican senator stepped down to take another job, and now that position is open. We have an open election. The primary election, because we have two candidates. The primary election is on October 10th, with the general being on December 12th. So we have an election. So if you live in Lawton, make sure your voter's registration is up to date so that you can participate in that primary on October 10th. If you don't live in Lawton, now's the time to get involved in Lawton. Wouldn't it be awesome if Democrats held Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Norman, and Lawton? It is still time to request your absentee ballot. You still have time to register to vote to be able to participate in that. And speaking of, have you voted today? I actually voted in person today. I don't do that very often, but I like to kind of keep in touch with where my precinct is. So if you haven't voted today, you still have 2 hours and 43 minutes to get over there and vote. It's different in every city. In my city, there are 4 bond issues, but in all over the state, today is election day. So if you haven't voted and you were planning on voting, stop listening to me. Stop right now. Go vote. You only have 2 hours, 42 minutes to cast your vote. If you don't have a vote and you're itching to vote, we have an election before all the school board and municipal elections that are coming up next year with the filings in December. Lawton, Senate District 32, we have 2 candidates. We have Larry Bush, who is an OU football player, ex-OU football player, owns an insurance company. And we have Johnny Jernigan, who recently received his CNA license, long-term residents of Lawton. We have 2 candidates that are running. Very excited about that. Hopefully they'll turn out the entire district. They'll get the entire district contacted, and we can get another Democrat in the state Senate. That's what we all need to be working on. That's what we all need to be focused on, making sure that we get another Democrat in the state Senate. Wouldn't that be great? For all the people who complain that we don't have enough, this is how we make the change. Now, I think I'm supposed to talk about the 2 things that everybody is talking about on the news. The 2 things: national, the former guy and all of his legal issues and the incredible amount of spin that we're seeing around that. Okay, I've talked about it. I don't know that I can say anything new that hasn't been said by many a pundit. The former guy has many legal issues, and he's still the front runner on the Republican ticket. They would rather vote for a criminal, and I'm not going to say alleged because he has been adjudicated guilty of things, right? A criminal, than someone who is working to reduce student loan debt, capping insulin prices, reducing medication prices for our seniors, taking care of our veterans. That's the choice, and they're picking the criminal. Don't understand it. I'm not even going to try to understand it. I'm just going to be over here talking to you sane people. And then on the local front, the superintendent of public instruction, who also doesn't get a name because he is absolutely out there doing everything he can to make sure that everybody is saying his name. It is insane. It is disgusting. And it's not productive. He is attacking Tulsa Public Schools when there are 26 schools that have worse ratings than Tulsa Public Schools. 26 schools with worse ratings than Tulsa Public Schools. And yet he's spending all of his time on one school, albeit it is the largest district. It is the largest district. But while he's focusing here, 26 other districts, whole districts, are failing. And he's not saying a word. Instead, he insists on fighting the superintendent of Tulsa Public Schools. God only knows why. The Republicans have decided to fight each other because the superintendent of Tulsa Public Schools is a Republican. And I'm not vilifying her for being a Republican. I'm not even vilifying him for being a Republican. But it's like they've run out of things to fight us about because it's all made up, that they're even taking their made up fights internal. And in this particular fight, it's more concerning because it's about our kids. Or in this case, it feels like it's not about our kids. This reminds me, and I'm sure I've said it already this week, and you'll hear me say it again. Every election matters. We could have had a sane person, Sheena Nelson, running the State Department of Education. Yet we have this camera hound, and that's all he is. He's a camera hound. And I'm not having it. And he is just trying to get a check. If he can get rid of the superintendent of Tulsa Public Schools, he will feel like he has a win. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have the intent of taking care of Tulsa Public Schools. He just wants a win. And I guess he's marked the win as either taking the accreditation, which would absolutely upend all of Eastern Oklahoma, or he can do away with the superintendent of Tulsa Public Schools, who the Tulsa School Board has confidence in, who has been running it effectively, just so he can get a win. We can't let it happen. We have to keep elevating our voices. We have to keep making sure that people know, because if he can do that, imagine what else he can do. It just takes one little win for people of small minds to think that they can take over the world. And yeah, I did say he's a person of small minds, in case that was lost on you guys. So if I have to talk about him, I promise you guys, I would remind you that he's derelict in his duties. Not applying for enough grants to support public schools. Engaged in fights over sending tax dollars to religious schools. And class wallet still hasn't been solved. That's the thing where he didn't put enough safeguards, and millions, more than one, I think it was $2.9 million was spent questionably in the Save Our Schools, Stay in Schools initiative, or the GEAR funds, the money that was set aside, federal COVID money that was set aside to help parents help their kids get through school due to COVID. $2.9 million misspent. That was under Ryan Walters' watch. He was the Secretary of Education at the time, but it was under his watch. So if I got to talk about him, I'm going to remind you that he's derelict. I'm going to remind you that he's met his Peter principle. He is in over his head. His job is not to be the Boston TV star. His job is to protect public education, improve public education, and he's not doing it. So if I'm going to talk about him, I'm going to remind you that he sucks at his job. All righty. I'm not through talking about Tulsa Public Schools. I have a guest joining me on Thursday where we can go in depth. She is a parent in Tulsa Public Schools, has been following this in detail, and is at all the meetings, knows what's going on. She's going to join me on Thursday, and we're going to kind of peel back the layers of the Tulsa Public School nonsense. And hopefully everybody can understand what's going on, because it looks crazy from the outside, and it looks crazy when you just kind of tiptoe in and pay attention to the school board meetings, but it's much crazier than that. And Ashley Daly will be joining me on Thursday to go into details. But until then, I will see you tomorrow at 4:15.